Welcome back to the Rundown Podcast. My name is Abe Hicks with my main man Dylan Kearns here. How you doing, man? You are now a college graduate.
I am a college graduate. I'm doing fantastic. Excited to talk baseball. Watching a lot of baseball as of late because, like you said, college graduate. What else do I do there, Abe? I love the game of baseball. Fourth of July has come and gone, which means the All Star events are going to be taking place here soon. Trade deadlines are going to be taking place, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yep.
We're gonna talk about a lot of things today, and I'm excited to talk ball.
Yeah, same here. To everybody listening, I hope you guys had a fantastic holiday weekend. I love the 4th of July. Hot dogs, hamburgers, swimming at the lake, or if you are around the lake, or swimming a lot, slushies,
Yeah.
s'mores, the whole 9 yards, and baseball, man. It's just a great holiday, hang out with family, yada yada yada. Well, we have a lot for you on plate today. There's a lot of things we want to discuss and get into. We're really getting into the heart of the season. Like in 2 weeks, it's the All Star break. It's coming up soon.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, you said 2 weeks, right? You already got some starters that have been officially locked in to their
Mm-hmm.
respective spots. A couple of them still being fought for. Mr.
Yep.
Alejandro Kirk making a hell of a push for being a backstop for the American League. But,
Yeah.
you always got your Trevino guy and many others that are competing. But I mean, there's a lot on the line there. Excited to see the home run derby participants come out here in a little bit.
Yeah.
That's going to be fun to see who all is going to be swinging the bat and putting on a show for the fans.
Yeah, and just like you said, there's a lot of surprising players that will be making the All Star game. Well, there's also a lot of surprising teams this year who have been playing really well above the expectations given to them before the season. And for me, that team is the Minnesota Twins. They're leading the AL Central. They have a plus 47 run differential. They're hitting. I think formerly we used to look at the Minnesota Twins lineup as, man, that's just a scary lineup you don't want to face. Obviously, they don't have Nelson Cruz anymore. They don't have Mitch Garver. They don't have Josh Donaldson anymore. Some of those heavy hitters, but their bats are still really good. For example, they are seventh in OPS. They're top 10 in home runs, RBIs, and average. I like the core they currently have with Byron Buxton, Carlos Correa, Jorge Polanco. It's a lineup where you are very aware who is in what position, and you have to pitch to them carefully. For example, Byron Buxton, I'm a huge fan of him. Even though he has a low batting average of 226, he still has a WAR of 2.7 and an OPS plus of 147. And we usually don't. I mean, when have you ever heard of the pitching of the Minnesota Twins? Their pitching has been very solid too. They're top 10 in ERA, WHIP, opponent's batting average. There's not a lot of big names in this rotation. I mean, Sonny Gray, Dylan Bundy, Chris Paddock, Kenta Maeda, but they are holding it down. They don't have an ace, but they're doing enough to keep them level, and they've been pitching well enough to win the division. I believe that they can eventually win the division because the AL Central is up for grabs. It's mainly up to who's going to take it.
Yeah, it is a very interesting division. Obviously, the Guardians, a team that's playing well. I want to bring up something real quick. Guardians are the
Mm-hmm.
team I want to talk about.
Okay.
Terry Francona has had like one season under 500 since 2004.
Really?
Guy's an absolute beast. One of the most underrated managers in all of baseball. But just a slight topic there, a slight little note to think about, something to think about when it comes to
Yeah.
Francona. But I'm going to talk about Tito's old team, the Boston Red Sox. I mean, not a lot of.
Ooh.
I mean, you look at the Boston Red Sox, and maybe they're not a surprise team by any means. I thought everybody at the beginning of the season was on board of the Toronto Blue Jays hype train. You look at a Red Sox team
Yep.
that trades away Hunter Renfroe, who was a big offensive piece for them last year. They bring in Jackie Bradley Jr., who probably shouldn't even be playing in AAA, should be in AA. I mean, he can't hit the ball. He's a great defender. Who cares? But you look at the Red Sox; they lead all of baseball in team batting average at 261. Their ERA is top five, 357 in that department. And you thought about this team going into the year. You don't have Chris Sale coming in, right? Obviously,
Mm-hmm.
he's been banged up since he's for a very long time. Seems like since the
Mm-hmm.
World Series, we haven't seen Chris Sale. But you lose Chris Sale. Nate Eovaldi gets a little bit older. You lose Eduardo Rodriguez in free agency, and you're
I thought
thinking
that was
about
a
this
big
team.
loss.
Yeah, it was a big loss. And then you're
Hmm.
thinking, well, that guy's not even playing ball right now.
Yeah.
But you look at Nick Pivetta, you thought maybe he was a surprise year. You don't know what you're getting. The Red Sox are getting pitching. They got a nice kid, Brian Bello, making his MLB debut on Wednesday. They're a pretty solid team. Xander Bogaerts in a potential contract year if he decides to not opt in.
Yeah.
And Rafael Devers having an MVP year as well. I mean, this team is playing great baseball, and I think they're a little bit of a surprise. I think a lot of
Hmm.
people still believed in Tampa. Uh, Maybe some still had the Yankees above them going in to start the year. Yankees obviously dominating that division, but Boston's holding their own.
Yeah, I think I agree. You know, their lineup is very, very good. They got hitters. They got hitters all around that lineup. The only thing that troubles me is their pitching. I wonder if they'll be able to hold their ground, throughout the rest of the season. I think if I am the Red Sox and they currently are in a wild card position, if they want to go all in here, because if you think about it, if they wanted to, is JD in a contract year? I think he is.
I'm not sure. I can check on it, but you keep going.
JD. I don't know if Evaldi is, but they got some guys who before the season, a lot of people were talking about. Oh, we could probably get some pieces back for them if the Red Sox aren't in the position for a playoff run here, but they are, and I've been really impressed by how they've been playing. The only thing that worries me is their pitching. I don't know if they will be able to sustain what they have been doing, especially let's say hopefully when they get Sale back, they'll be able to help that rotation some more. But I believe at the deadline they got to get some pitching if they wanna make a push here.
That or have their kids pitch. I mean, the Wachowski kids came up; he's
Yeah.
pitched pretty well. I mean,
Hmm.
Brian Bellows, I mentioned, is making his MLB debut. I do think they need more experience pitching, especially getting the postseason time.
Yeah,
They're going
for
to be a
sure.
wild card team. The AL's trash outside the East. I don't know what's happening to the Mariners. I don't know what happened to the Chicago
Angels.
White Sox. We talked about
Yeah.
them last episode. If you want to talk about them, but did check on JD Martinez. You're right. He is up unrestricted free agent after this year.
Okay. Okay. Man. Well, speaking of teams that have been playing well, let's talk about some rookies that have been playing well. And somebody definitely on my radar. I've been a huge fan of this guy, going up through the ranks in the minors. Julio Rodriguez. He had a very slow start to the year, but man, he has really turned it on lately. He has 15 home runs and 20 stolen bases in 81 games. That is the fastest to ever reach that. He's the fastest player to ever reach that. He has an OPS plus of 139. He is 15 in hits as a rookie, which I think is pretty impressive. And then just to get a little analytical here, he is fourth in exit velocity average among all center fielders. The guy has amazing potential. I love what he is doing right now for the Mariners. He's giving them a nice, huge spark. Like I said, I was a huge fan of him, going up through the minors. And I love Julio Rodriguez, man. He's just a fresh of breath air for the Seattle Mariners.
Yeah, I mean, he's been fantastic. I mean, there's no other word to describe how he's been this year. I think he's definitely someone that you look at and say, hey, he was big league ready. The Mariners believe that, made him a number one, made him opening day, made the opening day roster for them. I mean, and that speed's something that I sort of overlooked. The
Yeah,
guy's got 20 plus bags, and
yeah,
I mean, he could have a
already.
40 year in his rookie season.
That
Like,
would be
holy
insane.
Toledo. That would
Yeah.
be insane if he could find a way to pull that off. But Julio's been getting it done. And, I want to bring up an underrated name. And maybe you've heard him
Okay.
because he had a big game. Maybe that's where you hear him from. But I think one of the nice little young pieces right now to a potential core in Pittsburgh is Jack Sawinski. Jack Sawinski, an outfielder for the Pittsburgh Pirates. And I'm not saying this guy's a superstar. I'm not saying he's an all-star by any means. I'm just saying you're talking about rookies that are playing well. He's got 13 home runs. That leads National League rookies. He's been slinging the bat pretty well. He had that 3 homer game. His batting average is kind of low, but I mean the guy gets on base. He has 2 stolen bases. He's got 23 RBIs, and I think Jack Sawinski's just a nice little ball player that you look at, and he could potentially have a future in Pittsburgh.
Hmm. He hit. I mean, he hit a 2-run shot tonight against the Yankees.
Yep.
So you're right on with that. What do you think about obviously the top prospect coming into this year, Adley Rushman, was off to a little bit of a slow start. Had a very hot week, I would say, a few weeks ago. But what's your take on Adley Rushman?
I don't care if people want to bash me, Abraham. I'll be honest here. I do not care if people want to scream at me through the phone, through the whatever they're listening on, whether you pull out the R64, whatever the radio device, whatever you got. I don't care what you're watching, listening, whatever. If you're reading this, who knows? I don't know what's going on. We need to stop. And I don't care. This guy might be a great ball player. That's okay. I will eat my own words if he is. We got to stop overhyping catching prospects, Abe. It happens every single year. I mean, I'm not going to throw Joey Bart under the bus because he's been in the league. I mean, he's still very young and but he's been a top prospect for quite some time. He got a shot in 20, albeit COVID year. I'll give him that, right? 21, Buster comes back. I'll give him that. This year he had a shot. Well, now he's playing in AAA Sacramento. So when the minor league fans show up and sell out a 4th of July, that'll be the biggest audience he plays for because I mean, look at it. Let's face it there. Francisco Mejia was a top-rated prospect. What happened to him? Blake Swihart was a top-rated prospect. What happened to him? Alex Jackson was a top-rated prospect. What happened to him? Remember Chance Sisco? What happened to him? Remember Zach Collins? These were all supposed to be big-name guys. All these catchers that everyone's like, oh, here they come. You got to wait till they get there. Catching is one of the hardest positions to play and to be a starter at in the MLB. You got to focus on controlling a pitching staff, blocking, throwing out runners, calling a good game, and provide offensively. Yeah. And you have to develop as you go up the stages into the game of baseball. And sometimes it takes catchers a very long time to get going. Some guys, it takes them, you could just go to it naturally. Wilson Contreras was one of those, just got there naturally. But it took Travis d'Arnaud a little bit, had a little bit of success with New York, battled a little bit, found his way back, and now he's a great catcher in the league. I'm just saying we need to pump the brakes on these catching prospects because not all of them pan out. And Miguel Amaya was a top-rated prospect for a long time with the Cubs. I know he had Tommy John surgery. That's big time too. His offensive numbers aren't great. And we got to stop overhyping these guys until we really say, hey, they're going to be a potential future star or a future superstar in this league.
That is definitely an interesting take. So what do you think about your boy Henry Davis for the Pirates? You don't think he's going to pan out?
It's not that I don't think he's going to pan out. It's just, it's one of those, again, it's a weird position to gauge. I can't, let's put it in this perspective. If I'm a GM and I'm trying to trade for a prospect, I'm not going for a catcher. I'm not, because that has a bigger chance to miss than any other prospect you get. Shortstops, athletic, they can play defense. You're getting that on a nightly basis. And maybe you're getting that with a catcher, but you're not getting you can get by if the shortstop hits 250. You can get by. That's what the Yankees are doing with Kiner Falefa. You can get by if someone just plays great defense and hits. If your catcher's hitting 190, you got yourself an Austin Hedges who hits 10 bombs and calls a good game. I mean, that's really nothing. I don't think it brings hardly any value to your ball club, and that's not someone you want to get in a trade. Maybe he has a good career. Maybe Henry Davis has that good career. But once again, man, I mean, it's a position that always gets overhyped.
I think there is something to that because I believe a lot of teams, they value their catcher. They want their catcher to be very defensively sound. They would rather have his defensive metrics and what he can provide to a team defensively, to a pitching staff, holding runners, throwing guys out, opposed to having that bat. Like a lot of teams will sacrifice the bat for their defense. That, like you said, that's what the Yankees are doing with Trevino. He's not the best hitter, but boy, he's a really good defender. And a lot of teams, now thinking about it, there's not a lot of, outstanding hitting catchers in baseball. Yep. Not like it used to be.
Yeah, the Alejandro Kirk, the Contreras brothers, d'Arnaud.
There's just not a lot.
Yeah, there's not a lot. And I mean, Yasmani Grandal was getting it done for a while. He's been injured. James McCann had a good year. Most of the time with catchers, you only get 2 to 4 years of good play, if anything, from them. And that's why it's a tough position to gauge. Maybe you do get one of those 2 good years and then they fall off. You're not getting a Buster Posies don't come around very often.
Or Joe Mauers. They don't come around very often.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So earlier we talked about some trade. We talked about the trading deadline, and obviously that's coming up soon. And Dylan, do you have any trade scenarios you could see happening, or some trade scenarios you would like to see?
I do. And I look at a team that I mentioned earlier, actually, both teams that I mentioned earlier. And I'm looking at it right now. I see a team that needs pitching. You mentioned the Boston Red Sox, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I saw a guy who pitched pretty damn well tonight against the New York Yankees. I want to see Jose Quintana go to the Boston Red
Mm.
Sox. I think that replaces that left-handed arm they lost in the offseason with Eduardo Rodriguez. It gives them another veteran in their staff. Not saying that you need to give up Mr. Eloy Jimenez or Dylan Cease. Good job,
Right.
Theo. But you can also, I mean, you could get him fairly cheap. He's cost controllable. It could also be a move the Rays make if they want to add to their pitching staff. Because he is making $3 million this year. It's not much for
Yeah.
Jose Quintana for what he's bringing to your team on a 1 year contract. That's a team that almost anybody in baseball. That's a contract anybody can buy, and I think that's definitely something to look forward to. The Red Sox have a loaded farm system with second baseman and
Oh yeah.
shortstops galore. I know Bogart's on his way out, but you still got Marcelo Meyer. You still got Jeter Downs, shortstop
Mm-hmm.
depth for days. Nick York, a top prospect in their system
Tristan
as well.
Cassis.
Tristan Cassis, Blaze Jordan.
Oh
You
yeah.
already, I mean, their infield depth is insane. So I think not they won't part ways with one of those for Quintana, but maybe somewhere down the line, um, down towards the bottom of the list, maybe you can part ways with a first baseman or someone of that, a Nico Cavadas at a Notre Dame or someone like that. That you could trade for Jose Quintana and maybe get you over that hump into the postseason.
Yeah, I could see. What about? I had him on my list. I didn't really have this guy like what team, but I had him on my list of possible trade possibilities. Chad Cool out of Colorado.
Yeah,
Somebody
that
who
could,
could eat some
yeah.
innings. He's not having a bad year. ERA of 3.83, WHIP of 1.3. I mean, if you want a guy who has experience, can eat some innings, can come and fill in. Uh, I think that would be a great addition for the Red Sox.
Yeah, I think just bringing some. Yeah, I think Chad Cool's definitely one. They're gonna get a pitcher for sure. I
Mm-hmm.
don't think it would be someone like a Kyle Hendricks, especially in that division.
Mm-mm. Nah,
I
that's not
don't
gonna
know what
fly.
what kind of value he would provide right now too. I mean, it seems like he's had a pretty bad year.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, once again, that's a pitcher that doesn't care about the moment, and he just has that same face on that he's had since his
Yeah.
rookie year. I mean, he hasn't changed his face in 8 years, so I don't think he'll change it wherever he
Mm-mm.
goes. So no moment's too big for him.
Yeah. For me, the trade that I really want to see happen, I want to see Andrew Benintendi to the Yankees. Obviously, Joey Gallo's not doing it for the Yankees. I believe he needs a change of scenery. I don't know if being in Yankee Stadium is too much pressure for him, uh, but he's just not cutting it. And I believe if the Yankees really want to get to a place where they want to go to, they gotta have it at least an average outfielder at the plate. And I believe Benintendi would be fantastic. The Yankees have a lot of prospects to, give them. We got Oswald Peraza, Anthony Volpe. I believe they're gonna part with one of those guys. I would prefer it to be Oswald Peraza. Yes.
In a Benintendi deal, you're
I
giving up Peraza in a Andrew Benintendi deal. Get out of
look,
town.
look. I don't know if the yes, I would do it for outfield for Andrew Benintendi. I would do it.
I don't think you can. I don't. I think that's definitely too steep. Maybe an Alexander Vargas. Yeah, I mean Peraza and Volpe. That's one of your top two prospects. You're getting
Yes.
Benintendi. That's. I mean,
I'm
that's a
not saying they have to part. I'm just saying like we have a load of
yeah. You
prospects
have to.
for the Royals. I'm not saying I want to part with away for those guys, but we got Luis Hill, Estevan Florial. We got some guys in the
Esteban
minor.
Florial.
Yeah,
Like
see, like
95 now, isn't he?
we got some guys there who we could definitely throw in a deal to get Benintendi without a
Like a
doubt.
Brandon Lockridge in this deal, a nice guy in there in
Yeah,
the Yankee system, an outfielder. I mean, they don't need a shortstop. They got Bobby Witt, they got Adalberto
right.
Mondesi, they got Nicky Lopez. Their infield's pretty set. I think maybe an outfielder or a pitcher there to Kansas City would make sense too.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I
Yeah.
like Benintendi to the Yankees.
Yes, I believe that'd be a great addition. Not a guy who's not going to strike out a whole bunch. He can use that short porch and right. I think that'd be a great addition. Final topic of the day. So there's been a lot of talk and heat about this over the past few weeks as Chapman was recovering from injury. But Chapman's back. He's coming back soon. Just had a rehab assignment, and
Pitch tonight.
there's a lot of there's a lot of talk about who should be the Yankees closer. Who should it be? Should the Yankees closer be Aroldis Chapman or Clay Holmes?
It's easy.
It's easy.
It's easy. The answer is Aroldis Chapman. The answer is Aroldis Chapman. And I know Yankees fans right now, including yourself, have PTSD of those hanging sliders that have been bamboozled over the wall and that smiling face that, as he walks off the
It
mound.
affected you too. Just
Yeah.
admit, yeah.
Hey,
I'll
I
get
mean,
to that
that's right.
later. I'll
He
get to
did
that
blow
later.
Game 7 of the World
I will
Series.
get to that later. Yeah.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
But, I mean, Aroldis Chapman is a guy, right, that – I mean, ego aside, I don't think he has a big ego. I don't think he's a guy that he wouldn't be upset if he took that eighth inning role, but it could mess with him mentally. And that's where I think Clay Holmes, he wasn't a closer for long. Like, I think that guy is a future closer. Like, he's a 40 save guy for the next 5-6 years. That might be a stretch. Relievers have a short shelf life. But I think Clay Holmes can get it done, right? I think he can. You can move him around. And I heard this point on MLB Network a few weeks ago. I don't want to take credit for it, so I want to at least shout out the network for bringing this point up. Saw what the Brewers did a few years ago. Clearly, Corey Knebel wasn't the better reliever. They still used Josh Hader in those high leverage eighth inning situations and got what he got there. And you still had Corey Knebel closing out ball games. It worked for them. They got to the NLCS and they did pretty good. You look at the New York Yankees here. If you got two dominant pieces in that bullpen right now. Aroldis Chapman, who threw 102 tonight. He's his first inning coming out of the bullpen tonight. He returned. He threw a perfect inning, hit 102, and he pitched pretty well. He pitched a scoreless eighth in a 5-2 trailing game. So I think with him, it's those high leverage situations. You cannot put him in the eighth inning. You put him in the eighth inning. Say he gets shelled, say he gets knocked around and it doesn't work out for him, right? Clay Holmes will still hold it down in the ninth. But if you can't get that and Chapman pitches better in the ninth, Chapman pitching better in the ninth, I mean, it could derail him forever. You put him in the eighth. Okay, so final point here. If you pitch Chapman in the eighth inning, right, you say,
Okay.
all right, Clay Holmes is our closer. If you're saying Clay Holmes is our closer and you're putting Chapman in the eighth inning, it could work. It could work. But if that does not work for Aroldis Chapman, he could be lost. He could be lost out there saying, oh, crap, his ERA is north of 5 now. He's not getting that same. He's a guy that feeds off energy. I'm coming in. I'm striking you out, right? I'm bumping 102 by you. I'm closing the door. We're getting out of here with a W. If he does that in the eighth inning, I don't think that will play with him as much as it will with Clay Holmes, who's already been in that role this year. I mean, you just look what the White Sox did when they brought over Craig Kimbrell. They tried playing with his role. The guy hasn't been the same. He was a dominant closer with the Cubs. I mean, heck, they traded Nick Magical for him. He was pitching very well. And since moving into the eighth, it shat the bed on his entire career. I don't think that can happen to Aroldis Chapman. You got to keep him in the ninth and keep trusting him. You got a 40 game, you're over 40 over 500 damn near. At least stick him there and see if he fails or not.
Yep, I mean, I agree. When Chapman is on, he's on, and he's one of the most untouchable relievers in all of baseball. But when he is off, he is so bad. It's so bad, they send him to the IL. That's how bad it gets with him. And with saying that, Clay Holmes should be the closer, without a doubt. He is probably the best pitcher on this team, and he's probably one of the best relievers in all of baseball, if not the best relievers in all of baseball. There is no anxiety when Clay Holmes is in the game. I trust Clay Holmes. I do not trust Aroldis Chapman in the ninth inning. Let's remember, he cannot hold runners on. He gets inside of his own head. He has mental meltdowns in the ninth many times. There are so many times where he walks the leadoff batter in the ninth, and that guy automatically gets on second base because he cannot hold runners on. Chapman is known for blowing the big games. He's known for blowing games. He blew Game 7 2016 World Series, obviously, Rajay Davis. 2019 ALCS, Jose Altuve sends the Astros to the World Series off Aroldis Chapman. There are so many times when he is in the game, it feels like an emotional roller coaster. And you should not feel that way with your closer. You should be in complete peace when your closer is in the game. And you do not get that with Chapman. That's why I want Clay Holmes. He just pounds that sinker in. He pounds that sinker. It's because of that, it's almost impossible for batters to hit home runs off of him. And I know you mentioned ego. Listen here, Chapman. You're 34 years old. You cannot be the closer of a baseball team forever. And you are finally playing on the best team you've ever played on since that 2016 team. Like the words of Billy Beane, adapt or die, man. Adapt or die. And I think he will know what's best for this team is Clay Holmes in the ninth. Come October time, you're right. There's plenty of time left. There's plenty of time left here. They're, 14 games ahead in the division. So you can mess around with some things. But come October time, Clay Holmes has to be the closer for the New York Yankees.
See, I hear your point. I get the holding a runner on situation and what he can bring in the ninth inning and that factor. What if he blows the game in the eighth? You're still going to be pissed. You're not even going to get to Clay Holmes. Getting your chance at setting yourself up. You got the sinker baller. They're two different types of relievers. Yep. I admire that, right? You got the funk, the slide, the net, the sink, the cut, whatever the hell you got from Clay Holmes. That dude's sick. He brings that to you in the eighth. Then you get the smoke in the ninth from the left side.
But Clay Holmes has smoke too. Clay Holmes has smoke too.
That's fine, but his is more dart and dive. Chapman's is more, I'm blowing this MFer by you, and he usually does. So I think that makes more sense to have him in the ninth. You cannot put – I'm not saying should Clay Holmes be the closer? Yeah, he's earned it. Yeah. Will he? There isn't a chance. No, I think there's no chance that he has the ninth inning. I think it's Chapman for here on out.
I think we agree on some terms about this. On high leverage moments, situations, we want Clay Holmes in there. Right. Like, for example, Yankees facing the Red Sox. Bogarts, Devers.
That's why he can't be the closer.
Bogarts, Devers, JD up in the lineup in the eighth inning. I don't want Chapman seeing those guys. I want Clay Holmes. So I understand in some situations.
But you can't play teeter-totter with Aroldis Chapman because he's been used to saying, let me eat my hot dogs in the third inning and let me get the ball in the ninth.
I get it, man. But he's going to have – I think he needs to realize
he knows he gets the ninth.
He needs
if the Yankees are losing 4-1 and it's the fourth inning, he's texting all of his girls. He's ready. He's not getting in the ball game.
I gotta have Clay Holmes in there, man. Ninth inning.
Ninth inning. Okay, so what you're saying is you will.
You're telling me you don't feel anxious
facing the heart of the order in the eighth.
No, I don't.
Okay, since you made Clay Holmes your closer earlier in the year and destroyed Chapman in the eighth to begin with, you're then in the postseason going to say, "Oh, Clay Holmes, here you go. Go get out Devers and all them in the eighth." So we have Chapman, who's been mentally blocked for the last 2 months of the season, to go face the ninth inning, and he blows the game again.
Honestly, I'm kind of out on Chapman. Like, seriously, what I would do if I was the manager of the Yankees, if I was Aaron Boone, I would have, if there's a high leverage situation in the eighth, put in Clay Holmes, ninth inning, go to Michael King. That's essentially what I would do. I don't care. They've done it before. King can shut it down. But in high leverage moments too.
So now you want to make Michael King the closer. He wasn't even brought up in this discussion.
This is what I'm saying. I know he wasn't brought up in the discussion. I just threw this in. But, like, you're right. Chapman, he's been used to being the closer. But like I said, man, there's going to be some point in the day you can no longer be the closer. And we're getting closer and closer to that day. I know he doesn't want to hear it. Like, Michael King, Clay Holmes, they can step in or whatever role they need, wherever you need them, they can step in and do it. But I am at peace with Clay Holmes there.
Yeah, I think everybody is, but he can't pitch every inning once the starter goes out.
I know. Oh, well, we would love to hear what you guys think on that discussion. Who would you rather have there in that spot, Clay Holmes or Aroldis Chapman? We covered a lot today. We'd love to hear your feedback on the show. love you guys. Also follow us on all of our social medias: Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. We appreciate all the support. And we'll be back next week. I think next week we probably want to do a like a mid-season award show.
Mid-season awards.
I think that'd be good. So come back, tune in for that. Thank you guys for everybody listening. For those on YouTube that are watching, really appreciate it. See you next week.